In this video, we're going to demonstrate the HPT-200B handheld pull tester. This kit contains the HPT-200B handheld pull tester, the electronic digital display unit, the AC universal adapter plug, three current adapters, a USB cord, a USB stick with the Measure Light software for data capture, and the alternate upper grip assembly. We're going to turn this video over to Steve, who is going to give us a detailed demonstration on just how to use this unit.
We'll cover a little bit about the basic functions of the HPT-200B tensile tester. When you receive it in your kit, it looks similar to what I have stored here. In the middle of the display and the big red button is your power on and off. You press and hold the button, the power turns off. Press and hold the button, the power turns on. This button is also used as an enter key when you're trying to select different functions from the menu. So we'll just keep that in mind. We'll demonstrate it at a little bit later date. Now, the first thing, when you turn your tool on, it's going to come up and you should see a 00 on your display, and it should be started in peak compression mode. Peak compression can be identified by the PC just below the second 0. If there's any force displayed during your test and you want to clear it from your display before you begin another one, you can press the clear button in the left corner and that will clear your display. After clearing the display, if there's any residual force or a force that can't be cleared by pressing the clear, you can press the 0 key, which will then reset the 0 and 0 the tool out so you can begin another test. Before starting a test, you'll want to select your units as the middle left key button. By pressing units, it will cycle through the various units available on the model. Currently, pounds, newtons, kilograms, grams force, and ounce force are available. All you have to do is cycle through until you see the unit of measure that you want for your testing, and then you're ready to begin testing. In order to test the sample, you have to first select your test mode, peak compression. That's going to show us the maximum force achieved before the sample broke. Take a minute now to set up a sample, and then we'll show you a demonstration of how to test with the HPT-200B. All right, the first thing, you want to select your wire and contact pair, and then select the slot that best fits the wire contact sample you have. Here we're going to select slot 7, and we're going to load this machine contact into the barrel with the outside on the locks of the pin itself. Then you'll press the button in the center of your grip assembly and load the sample wire in like so. And then we're going to take it around the loop one time and then you'll cycle the tool, wrapping the wire around until you get close to the slot that you're going to test in. All right. Now, as you can see, we've already started to select the force, and you'll simply close the handle, increasing till the sample breaks, and the peak reading is displayed on the tensile tester display. So here we have a 43.2 pound force before the sample broke. To remove our wire, we simply unwind it, press in the button, and remove the wire, and set it aside with your contact as well. And that's the basics of performing a tensile test. Once we've recorded our data, we can either hit clear, or if we have more tests to do, we can select and press the data button in the bottom left corner, which will then store that reading into the tool to be downloaded at a later date. As you can see here on the front display, it'll cycle every time I store a data. It's going to increment, and that's the number of tests that are being stored into the tool. If you want to download the data, then you would have to connect via a serial bus or USB port to a personal computer to download that data, and that software is provided with your tool assembly. All right, let's see. Next, we're going to go through some of the menu features stored. So we're going to clear that test out, and we'll select menu. You'll press 1, and if you notice at the top of the screen, it has memory highlighted. You can use the mode arrow keys and the 0 as up and down keys to cycle through the menu. And then when you reach the menu item that you want to use, you'll press enter, the red button, and it gives you some options. Now here we've entered the memory of the 3 tests that we stored, and if we want to, we can select view data, and it will show us the 3 tests that we did. If I want to back away from that menu, I can hit menu again. It brings me back to the previous menu. And then there's a good number of options that we can look to validate our data to see what was stored in the tool. If I'm done with the data and I just want to clear it out because I'm starting a different wire contact size, we can use the arrow keys up and down to select clear all data, press enter, select yes, and now that data memory is cleared. Select menu again, and it brings us back to our test feature, and you can see that the 00 counter is all zeroed out and there's no more data stored in the tool. At the time the tool is powered off, all data gets deleted from the memory. So if you store some information of the test that you did and then select power off feature, you'll get a warning menu that data in the memory will be lost. If you're okay with that, you can select power off, and then the data gets dumped. Then when you turn the tool back on again, you're ready to begin your testing. Some additional menu items that we will go over is setting up for the serial USB settings. You cycle through there. This allows you to set up the USB or serial settings, the baud rates to sync the tool to your personal computer so that you can download data using the software that's provided with the tool. Some additional features. You can change the time for automatic shutoff. If you don't want it to shut off every 5 minutes, you can select that feature and increment it up or down to set it in whichever version that you want. Before we go to passwords, on the last page of the menu, you will find tool called calibration. The calibration is exactly that. All of the processes to calibrate this tool using standard dead weights are stored in the tool itself in any calibration lab with the capability of doing force calibration will be able to calibrate. When you select calibration, it's going to ask you for the number of cal points that you want during your test, anywhere from 1 to 10. And then it will adjust its procedures to accommodate those points and give you a method of verifying or changing the calibration characteristics of the tool. A word of caution: if you proceed with these calibration procedures and you hit exit or you hit save, it will erase any previous calibration, so that it should only be done by your calibration facility or the person that you certify to calibrate your tool. So we're going to exit without saving. That preserves the calibration that's currently in the tool. Enter. And then we're going to back up. We'll go to our menu. And we're going to go briefly to passwords. You select the password menu, and it gives you a whole list of options that you can password protect. If you're calibrating your own tool, or you wish to keep the calibration preserved from the operators that are using the tool, inadvertently changing it, you can set a password for your calibration. Select enable, and then you can set the password code anywhere 4 digits, 0 to all the way up to 9999. Again, it's recommended that if you are calibrating your own tool, that you password the calibration, just to keep operators from inadvertently altering the system during the certification period. And that is pretty much the basics of how to operate the tool. When you receive it, it'll always come up in peak compression. If you want to change the operating mode, you have the option of selecting mode. And that will place the tool into real time. And what that means is that you'll place a force on the tool, but as soon as the force is released, the display back to 0. Now the nice thing about that it's still reading peak, and if you can see in the top, it shows the actual peak value that the force reached before it went back to 0. So even if you are in real time, you can still get the peak readings. If you want to store that data, you can still store it. We go back to menu, select memory, view our data, and it shows the force that was displayed at the time the data was selected. So if your intent is to read peak, you always want the tool mode in peak compression. Let's back out of this. Select 0. All right. Now with each tool comes an optional vice grip for contact barrels. These vices are excellent for doing very small contacts, as well as stamped and formed contacts for your Molex type KK connectors, or anything really that is a specific shape or form that normally you would have to compress down before you could place it into a grip, or there's no shoulder to connect to. So first I'll show you how to change out the grips so that this is installed in the tool, and then we'll do a sample test to show how that one works. So to change out the grips, you'll need a 11 32nd wrench and a 9/64 T-handle or Allen key, whichever is the most convenient. So let's see if we can get this. You'll place the wrench on the bottom nut, turn the T-handle counterclockwise, and And once that's there, we'll just kind of capture that nut. If you drop it, it's okay. It's not going anywhere. All right, we'll set that aside. Now that spacer goes up underneath the grip, and it keeps the load cell from contacting the outer case of the grip. And we're going to save these parts. So you'll receive the vice grip for miniature contacts, and each grip comes with a silver spacer. They'll install the silver spacer inside the bottom end like so, and that basically just takes up extra space for the screw. Now we'll remove the screw from our previous grip, set that grip aside along with the silver spacer that came with it, and we'll retain the screw, the washer, and the nut. Place the screw through the spacer, making sure that it stays in the housing of the tool like so. And we'll set that down for a second. All right, you're going to locate the top of the grip, the load cell, and we're simply going to place the screw like so down into the grip of the tool. All right. We'll set that aside for a minute. All right, good. So using a small pair of pliers, you're going to capture the nut just to get it started. Once you have the nut started, lock it down with your wrench and tighten the screw. Rotate the grip so that it's square on the load cell, and you're now set to test miniature contacts, and you're stamped in form. Right. So the next step would be to open the small vise, select the contact and wire pair that you're going to test. Place it into the anvil area, but be sure not to close the vise around the wire barrel or the insulation portion of your contact. Let's close. Once we have our sample tight in the grip, you can take the wire, feed it through the wire lug. Leave a little bit of slack so that it can wrap around the cam, and begin your test. So we'll cycle the handle until the wire separates from the contact, and measure your peak value. Our peak test was 20.3. We're in real-time mode, so that's the end of the test. In addition to the stamped and formed sections, you can do machine contact wire sets where the insulation might be thicker than the locking rings, making it difficult to test in the other versions. Just simply load our wire into the barrel, bring the nose of the contact forward, lock it securely into the vise, and then cycle the tool until you gain tension. For this test, we're going to switch back to peak compression and clear our reading, and we'll cycle the test until we get a satisfactory break. Okay, remove the wire sample. Remove the pin in contact, and the tool is ready for another test. Clear our data. And that is the basics of how to use the HPT-200B. For the other menu items, the reference guide that is provided with the tool provides instructions and insight on how to use the different features of the tool. But these are the basics for your shop level tensile testing.